I'm going to show you how to set up and manage users. Most Halloween Express stores elect to use generic login users for each POS computer as well as for the backroom receiving computer at each of their stores. This will keep the login users very basic, easy to set up and administer. This may prevent you from adding a user to Rick's Enterprise for every employee. Note, if you are using time clock or use individual cashiers when entering sales, you will need to create a user for each employee so they are able to clock in and out of the time clock and select their appropriate cashier to enter a sales ticket. Although you may still use the standard POS users to log in to each POS. Rick's converted all of your Rick 77 salespeople into Rick's Enterprise. If you have employees returning from last season, you can activate their account, or depending on the stores they work at, you may need to set them up at the proper store. To look up an existing user and select or change a role for them, you will do the following. From the main Rick's Enterprise menu, go to Setup up at the top, Users on the left, and Manage Users. This will bring you into the Manage User screen. Click on the magnifying glass icon, the lookup button in the quick lookup field, or click on the View Lookup tool at the top of the screen. You can look users up by login, last name, first name, or you can use % as a wildcard character in any of the lookup fields. If you want a complete list of the users, click on the lookup button to the right in the lookup tool. Once you find the correct user, click on Select to the left of that user. This will now display that user and the information of that user. You can now choose or change which role or roles this user should have by clicking to add a checkmark or clicking to remove a checkmark on each role. You can change the password on the screen below the login if needed. And the cashier code can be changed at the bottom right of the screen if needed. If you need to delete this user, click on the Delete button at the bottom of the screen. To delete a user, you must be in your top-level organization of your company. Now I'm going to talk about the roles and what each role means. The first role of the store manager's No User Setup role. The store managers have permission to do all POS functions based on the permissions, such as voids, change prices, close batch, and modify time clock entries. They can also set up POS terminals and run inventory detail reports. The next role is Store Manager with User Setup. The Store Manager with User Setup has the same permissions as Store Manager's No User Setup, plus it has a permission to create users to set up all the store's employees. Special note: make sure to train the managers with this permission to only select the proper roles for each employee, such as cashier or time clock only. The next role is Purchasing. Check this role to give permission to create and change purchase orders. The next role is Receiving. Check this role to enable all receiving. Receive stock without PO, receive purchase orders, and receive by supplier. The next role is Cashier. Check this role for employees who will enter sales at the POS. Note: many Halloween Express stores will use generic cashiers. I'll be showing you some examples here in a little bit. The next role is Practice Sales. You should only need to create these on generic Practice Sales users, which I'll be giving you examples here on that as well. And the last role that I'm going to talk about is Time Clock and Staff. If you use the time clock in Rick's, you will need to create a user for every employee so they will be able to clock in and out of the time clock. Using this role is for all your general staff that doesn't do anything except time clock. They will have no other permissions. Note, if you don't require a password for time clock, these users don't need a password created and will not be able to log into RICS. They will only have the ability to use the time clock from the POS. Now I'm going to go over how to create standard POS users and practice sale users. To set up standard POS sales users, first log in to the main level organization as store owner. Navigate to the correct store number that needs a generic POS user. And from the main RICS Enterprise menu, at the top, click on Setup, click on Users on the left, and Manage Users. In the Login field, enter the login for the generic POS user. You will need to create a user for each POS computer you will use during the season. So if you plan to use 3 POS computers, you'll need to create 3 unique users. For example, for store F339, the first POS, the login info would be as follows. For the login, you would type F339 POS1. For the password, you would type in capital S, lowercase ALES, standing for sales, 123 $. You would confirm that password and type in the same thing, uppercase S, lowercase ALES, 123 $. After entering in the login information, you need to choose Cashier under Roles. This will bring up a Salespeople box requiring a cashier code. The cashier code should be named the same as the login. For example, our first login was F339 POS1, so our cashier code will be F339 POS1. Click Save to save this generic POS user login.